What's up, everybody? Jacob Bartley here, and I'm here to talk about this hot topic, this hot idea that we had. And before I get started, if you didn't notice in the title, this will be spoilers regarding Star Wars Rebels, particularly the season finale. This might also have spoilers throughout Star Wars canon in general. It might have some spoilers for The Last Jedi. I'm pretty sure if you're a Star Wars fan and you're tuning into a video like this, you've already seen Rebels and The Last Jedi, but you have been warned. Now let's get into it. The topic that we chose to talk about today is whether or not Jacen Syndulla, the son of Kanan Jarrus, aka Caleb Dune, and Hera Syndulla, is a Knight of Ren. If you don't know who the Knights of Ren are, they're a group that has only been referenced and somewhat shown in visions in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. We know that Kylo Ren is supposedly the leader of this group, and we assume that they kind of got their start after Kylo Ren left Luke's academy, after the whole destruction and the conflict between him and Luke that we found out about in The Last Jedi. Now this question has arose between us here at Apocalypse Movies. Is Jacen Syndulla possibly a Knights of Ren? And you have to ask yourself a few questions in order to kind of get an answer to that. And there's no clear-cut answer. It's all debate. It's all opinion. But here's what I came up with. So we have to consider, is the timeline correct? Does it make sense? Now, if you watch Star Wars Rebels, we know that Hera had a son, and he looks to be about between the ages of 3 and 5 by the time that we see him, which is about a little bit after Star Wars Episode 6, after the Battle of Endor. So we know that he's around that age. That would put him at about 35 years old by the time we get to the Force Awakens timeline. He might be a little bit too old to be training with somebody like Kylo Ren or be under Luke's wing, but you never know. They don't have to be within 5 years of each other to be going to the same academy. So I think the timeline would make complete sense, and it would make sense for Hera to have crossed paths with Luke, knowing that Luke's a Jedi, considering her experience with Jedis, having such great relationships with Kanan and Ezra, to maybe trust a hero like Luke to take her son and train him, knowing there's no other Force-sensitive beings around that she knows of. So it would make sense for her to want Luke to kind of guide her son, Jacen Syndulla. That would be great. And one little tiny thing, it's a little Easter egg. If you know anything about the Star Wars Legends, which is all the content that was created that's not canon over the past decades, there was a character named Jacen Solo who was the son of Han and Leia, who eventually went evil in the Legends. So I believe that that's kind of an Easter egg tie-in to the Jacen Syndulla that we got, to the Jacen Solo that is in the Legends. Another question that you have to consider is he Force sensitive? Now, before I talk about this question, you have to think, okay, nobody said that the Knights of Ren are Force sensitive, so that doesn't have to be a qualification, but we assume that they are members of Luke's old academy. Nobody's ever said this, but we're going to run with this assumption. So, he is the son of Kanan. So, we know that not all Jedi come from a lineage of other Jedi, but the Jedis that we do know of, the Force-sensitive people that we do know of, like Anakin and Leia, who have had children, their children have gone on to also be Force-sensitive beings. So what does that tell us? The proof, the evidence that's right in front of our face shows us that when Force-sensitive people do have children, they end up carrying on those abilities. So if he is Kanan's son, which we got confirmation that he is, then Jacen Syndulla might be Force sensitive. And that would make a lot of sense to me, and it would make sense why he would be going to train with Luke and eventually meet Kylo and maybe become friends with him. Now, we have to consider another thing is, would this character, who we don't really know at all, maybe he's a bad person as a young child and he just has a bad attitude and he was always prone to go to the dark side or team up with somebody like Kylo Ren. But we have to consider, if we're asking, is he a Knight of Ren, we have to consider, why would this character team up with Kylo? Do you think he would? So I don't know, because if you think about it, he was raised by Hera. Hera is one of the most good-hearted characters that we've ever seen in Star Wars, someone with a great moral compass. So would somebody who's raised by her go on to become somebody who would join someone like Kylo? But you could also say the same thing about Kylo. Kylo was raised by Leia, who's one of the best people in Star Wars that we know, and he went on to become evil as well. So, but you got to think, you can consider this if you just make a backstory in your head. So let's say that he did go on to train with Kylo at Luke's Academy. Maybe they become close. Maybe Kylo convinced Jacen Syndulla that Luke tried to attack him and kill him, and maybe that motivated Jacen Syndulla to join Kylo and go off with him. Either way, I think it would be really cool to see Jacen Syndulla in live action or just as an adult in animated form. I think that would be really cool. Overall, would I want Jacen Syndulla to be a Knight of Ren? I don't know. I wouldn't lean towards it. I wouldn't love the idea, but I think it would be really cool. I would love to see his half human, half Twi'lek, and with the green hair. That I think that was really clever of them, what they did with that character and introducing that. And it gave us fans of Star Wars Rebels and fans of Kanan a way to be like, well, yes, Kanan died, but at least he gets to live on through his son and through Hera. And I think that is really cool. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that Jacen Syndulla, Kanan's son, could have possibly went on to become a Knights of Ren? We haven't even met the Knights of Ren. We don't know who they are. We might not ever see them referenced or even shown in one of the future movies. But I don't know. They're kind of staying away from other canon tie-ins in the film. So I don't think we would ever see this character, even if he was a Knights of Ren, in live action. But hypothetically, we could get a novel of what happened to Kylo right after he left Luke's Academy, and you could incorporate this character into it. We can get an animated show that has this character on it, and we find out in the past he was a Knight of Ren. I think there's so many different ways with Star Wars canon. We can get a comic. There's so many different avenues that they could take with this. So one way or another, we might find out the answer to this question, whether or not Jacen Syndulla was indeed a Knight of Ren. I don't necessarily think so, but I think it's a very, very cool idea to think about. Please let us know in the comment section what you think it is. Do you agree? Where do you think Jacen Syndulla ends up going down in life? Like, what is his path? Does he become a Jedi? Does he find out that he's Force sensitive? Is he Force sensitive? Let me know in the comment section. Again, I am Jacob Bartley for Apocalypse Movies. Check out our YouTube channel if you like all things film, especially Star Wars. We have an all Star Wars podcast called the Padawan Podcast. We have our main show, the Apocalypse Movie Show, where Keith and I host that show. We have a bunch of videos coming out, trailers, reactions. Also, find us on iTunes. Thanks again for watching. Take care.